Remember raising your hand in class, waiting to be called on before you could speak? Sitting still until the bell rang? You weren't just being taught math and history. You were being trained, conditioned, programmed to believe that someone else controls when you move, when you speak, when you're allowed to exist. Now you're grown, and you're still waiting for permission from a boss, from a system, from some invisible authority that never actually comes. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must have no other object or thought than war and its organization." But here's what he also understood. The most effective war isn't fought with weapons. It's fought with rules so deeply embedded you don't even notice they're there. The tame dog follows the line forever. He sits when told, speaks when called, waits for permission to live his own life. The wolf steps out of line. He sees the machine for what it is and builds his own path. Today, we break down the compliance machine, 8 principles for seeing the invisible training, and how to finally stop waiting for permission. Type "break free" in the comments if you're ready to step out of line. This content is for educational purposes to help you recognize systemic conditioning. We do not encourage harmful rebellion, only conscious choice. In this series, dog and wolf represent mindsets, never individuals. Principle 1. Childhood conditioning. You were trained before you could talk. School taught you to sit still, raise your hand, wait your turn. Family taught you to obey authority. Don't question elders, follow the rules. Religion taught you there's a higher power watching, judging, keeping score. None of this is inherently evil, but all of it is conditioning. And conditioning, repeated enough, becomes unconscious. The wolf looks back at his early training and asks, which of these rules still serve me? And which am I following just because I was taught to? He keeps what's useful. He discards what's not. He doesn't rebel against everything. He just stops obeying automatically. You weren't born waiting for permission. You were taught. Principle 2. The authority halo. A uniform says, "Trust me." A title says, "I matter." A logo says, "This is legitimate." Without a single word, these symbols bypass your critical thinking. You relax, you comply, you stop questioning. This is the authority halo, and it's the oldest trick in the institutional playbook. When the wolf sees a uniform, a title, a logo, he pauses. He asks, who put this person here? Who benefits from my trust? What would I see if the symbols disappeared? He doesn't reject authority automatically. He just refuses to accept it automatically. I worked for a company with a fancy logo, a big name, a reputation. I never questioned anything. They were the experts. Then I found out the person running my department had been fired from 3 previous jobs. The logo meant nothing. The authority was borrowed. I stopped trusting titles that day. Symbols are shortcuts. The wolf takes the long way. Principle 3. Rule worship. Here's the trap. We confuse following rules with being good. The person who never speeds is a safe driver. The person who never questions is a good employee. The person who never breaks a rule is a moral human being. But rules aren't morality. They're just rules. Some are just. Some are not. Some exist to protect you. Some exist to control you. The wolf separates law from ethics. He asks, does this rule create justice or just compliance? He follows rules that serve good. He questions rules that serve only power. He doesn't break laws for fun. He just refuses to worship them. You can follow every rule and still be a bad person. You can question every rule and still be a good one. Principle 4. Manufactured fear. Why do you stay in a job you hate? Why do you tolerate a relationship that drains you? Why do you follow rules that make no sense? Because somewhere underneath you're afraid. Afraid of what happens if you stop. Afraid of shame, exile, ruin. And that fear? It was manufactured. put there on purpose by systems that need you compliant. The wolf names the fear. He writes it down. He looks at it coldly and asks, "Is this fear real, or was it installed?" Often the fear is just a story he was told, and stories can be rewritten. Fear is the machine's favorite fuel. Starve it, and the machine slows down. Principle 5. Selective rebellion. Here's what most people get wrong. They think freedom means breaking every rule, so they quit jobs impulsively, burn bridges, reject all authority, and then they wonder why their life is chaos. The wolf practices selective rebellion. He chooses which rules to bend, which to ignore, and which to follow, based on strategy, not emotion. Before he breaks a rule, the wolf asks, "What's the cost? What's the benefit? Is this freedom or just impulse?" He doesn't rebel to prove a point. He rebels when the rule is wrong and the timing is right. Rebellion without strategy is just another cage. Principle 6. Parallel structures. You can't always leave the machine, but you can build something outside it. A side skill, a separate community, a different source of income, identity, meaning. These are parallel structures, things that exist outside the system, so the system doesn't own you completely. The wolf looks at his life and asks, "If everything inside the machine disappeared tomorrow, what would I still have?" If the answer is nothing, he starts building, slowly, quietly, a structure outside the structure. I worked a corporate job for years. Good money, good people. But I felt owned. So I started a small side thing. Just a blog, no pressure. Took 3 years, but eventually that blog became a business. When I finally quit my job, I didn't burn out. I walked out. The machine didn't collapse. I just had somewhere else to be. You can't leave until you have somewhere to go. Build it while you're still inside. Principle 7. Internal law versus external law. Here's the deepest layer. The wolf has his own code, not the rules he was given, not the laws he was taught. His own internal law shaped by reflection, experience, and conscience. This code might overlap with society's rules. It might not. But it's his, chosen, not inherited. The wolf asks, "What do I actually believe?" Not what was I told to believe, but what have I tested and found true? He writes it down. He revisits it. He updates it when he learns more. This internal law becomes his compass. It doesn't always point the same direction as the crowd, but it always points somewhere. If you don't have your own code, you'll follow someone else's. Principle 8. Sovereign posture. Finally, there's something you can't fake. The way you carry yourself. People who've spent their lives complying move differently. They shrink, they wait, they ask permission with their eyes. The wolf moves like he belongs, not arrogant, just present. Like the space he occupies is his by right. This is sovereign posture. And it's not about confidence tricks. It's about knowing, deep down, that no system owns you. The wolf practices one question daily. If I had no one to impress and nothing to fear, how would I stand right now? Then he stands that way, not for anyone else, just to remind himself. Your body knows who you are before your mind catches up. Train it to know freedom. Here's the uncomfortable question. Where are you still waiting for permission? Permission to speak? Permission to leave? Permission to live the life you actually want? The dog waits. The wolf acts. Your shadow work? Find the places where you're still sitting with your hand raised, waiting to be called on. Then lower your hand and speak. Someone wrote me recently. I spent 37 years waiting for the right moment, the right job, the right permission slip. One day I realized no one was coming. No one was going to give me permission. I just had to take it. Scariest day of my life. Also, the first day of it. If that resonates, you're not alone. The permission slip was always in your pocket. You just never looked. Here's your 7-day challenge. This week, find one rule you follow automatically. Just one. Ask, why do I do this? Who benefits? If the answer is I don't know or them, consider not following it. Just once. See what happens. If this episode cracked something open, if you're tired of waiting for permission that will never come, hit subscribe, not for more noise, because you're choosing to build your own path. In our next video, we go deeper into how to protect yourself when the machine pushes back, how to become emotionally untouchable to manipulators. The dog waits, the wolf builds.